Hi, my name's Ben Taylor, and this is the Vesma Networks Products channel. Today we're going to discuss the TC600E. The TC600E is a multi-dwelling unit gateway that is intended to convert our QAM RF input into analog RF output. On the front of the TC600E, we have the LEDs, which display the status of the unit, as well as the console port, which allows you to serial into the unit, and the Ethernet port, which supplies IP services to the unit, such as an IP address. Additionally, on the front of the unit, you can add or remove cable cards. To do this, you need to unscrew the front panel, as I'm doing right now. And then to remove a cable card, simply press down the button right beside the cable card and it will pop out. To add a cable card, make sure you press it in all the way so that the button pops back out again. Then you're going to want to put the front panel back on, which screws in relatively easily. There we go. Just like that, we've added and removed a cable card. Now on the back of the TC600E, we have the power supply module as well as the 4 fan modules. Additionally, there is the RF output port, the RF input port, and in the middle here we have the media port, which is intended for future use. When the customer first purchases the TC600E, they're provided with 2 rack mounting screws, as well as a power cable for the unit. We also recommend that the customer purchase an Ethernet cable to plug into the Ethernet slot to gain them access to the web GUI, as well as coaxial cable that they'll need to plug into the 2 RF ports at the back of the unit. For troubleshooting purposes, we also recommend that the customer purchase a USB to USA cable to be used in a laptop for troubleshooting purposes. With the USB to USA cable, you can plug into the Craft interface port to serial into the unit and engage in additional troubleshooting even if the web GUI is down. The RF input port is the single connection to the CAT TV drop. Use a standard coaxial cable fitted with F-type connectors to connect the RF input port to the CAT TV cable drop for the premises. The RF input range is -12 to +15 dBmV. The RF output port provides analog NTSC modulated channels. Use a standard coaxial cable fitted with F-type connectors to connect the RF output port to an appropriate RF channel combiner. The expected RF output levels are +26 dBmV with a plus or minus 2.5 dBmV variance. The TC600E has one Ethernet management port that supports IEEE 802.3 IPv4 to IPv6 Ethernet specifications for 10 to 100 Mbps transmission over Cat5 cables, including auto negotiation, auto sensing, full and half duplex transmission. The Ethernet management port is connected via an RJ45 connection. The port supports the following protocols: HTTPS, SSH, TFTP, DHCP, and in the future, SNMP. The TC600E features a Craft interface port on the front panel. The Craft interface port, or CIP, is a USA to USB connection used to connect to a personal computer, which allows status monitoring and configuration of the Terrace TC600E using the textual user interface. This is an example of a Terrace TC600E with all the front cords plugged in. There's the Ethernet cord to allow us GUI access. There's the CIP cord to allow us textual user interface access. And we also see that on this unit, all the LEDs are green, so the unit is functioning normally. Vesma recommends rack mounting the TC600E. The 1RU TC600E is designed for horizontal rack mounting in a standard 19-inch equipment rack using the front rack mounting ears. This is an example of a full rack with a bunch of Terrace TC600Es in it. Although rack mounting the Terrace TC600E is the recommended method, we also can provide brackets to allow for shelf mounting or vertical mounting. These brackets are shown below. The TC600E can also be vertically mounted using the same rack mounting brackets as before. Instead, this time you would simply place the TC600E in a vertical position. However, please keep in mind that there must be nothing flammable underneath the Terrace TC600E when in this position. Access the Textual User Interface, or TUI, via the Craft Interface port. You'll begin by turning the unit on, then you'll open a terminal emulation program. From here, you'll need to enter in some settings. The first one is the COM port. To determine which COM port you'll need to open up Device Manager, and then look under the ports. And from there, you'll look at the one that is running Silicon Labs CP210X, USB to UART bridge, and that's on COM4. So from there, in PuTTY, I would go in and under the serial line, connect to COM4. Now from here, I'll need to put in the baud rate. The baud rate for the TC600E is 38400. The data bits are set at 8, which is correct. The stop bits is set at 1, which is also correct. The parity is set at none, which is correct. And the flow control needs to be set to no, or none. From there, I'll click Open. And that will bring me up to the Textual User Interface. From here, I can log in at any point in time using the standard login and password. So I would do admin, then whatever password I've chosen, and that will bring me to the Textual User Interface. This is very important when first setting up the device because the web GUI will not be available yet, as the IP address will be unknown. Using the Textual User Interface, one can go in, determine the IP address of the unit, and then access the GUI from there. How do I change the system name? To change the system name, I will begin by clicking on Configuration, then go to System. This will bring me to the System Configuration page. From here, I will click into the System Name text box, and if I wanted to change it from CES3 to CES2, I would simply delete the 3, add in the 2, and click Submit. This will take a moment while the system makes the adjustment, but once the system has made that adjustment, the name will be changed above. How do I change the SI source? SI in this case stands for service information, and the source is the band from which that information comes from. Now there are 3 options here. The information can come from the out of band, or from the in band, or the unit can be set to mixed mode, in which case it will search both the in band and the out of band for this information. To change the SI source, what you will do is you'll navigate to Configuration, then System. This will take you to the System Configuration page. From there, you'll click on SI source and choose either out of band, which it is now, in band, or mixed mode, which will search both the out of band and the in band. Once you've made your decision, click Submit, and the new source will be picked up immediately. How do I change the channel plan? To change the channel plan, click on Configuration, then System, and this will bring you to the System Configuration page. From there, you'll choose Channel Plan and enter in the EIA number that you'll want. This EIA number will be the first channel in your channel plan. From there will be 48 consecutive channels within which one can choose 36 programs which will be broadcast. So in this case, because we have chosen EIA channel 2, our channel plan would be from 2 to EIA 50. And within that range, we could choose 36 channels which will be broadcast. Once I've selected the beginning channel from my channel plan, as I have here, I'll click Submit, and the new channel plan will be adopted. How do I change the VCT ID? To change the VCT ID, I'll go to Configuration, then click System, and this will bring me to the System Configuration page. From here, I'll click on VCT ID and enter in the new ID, then click Submit. The VCT ID, or Virtual Channel Table, is used in in-band or mixed-mode SI sources to get the SI information. It is not needed for out-of-band only SI. How do I change the default EAS source ID? To change the default EAS source ID, I'll click on Configuration, then click System. The default EAS source ID is the source ID used for the emergency alert system. To change this ID, click on the source ID, enter in the new ID, then click Submit. The default EAS source ID is the EAS source SI that the unit will tune to during an EAS event if no other EAS source ID has been specified. How do I send the logs to a remote server? To do this, I will click on Configuration, then Remote Sys Log. From there, I'll click under Server Host Name, and then I'll enter in the IP address of the server in question. Once I've done that, I will hit Enter, and this will give me the option of either a check mark or a red X. Now, if I've entered in the correct ID, I'll click the check mark. If I haven't, I will click the red X to start over. From there, I'll click minus, and that will remove the log. Where do I find the mappings information? To find this information, click on Configuration, then Mappings. This will bring up the content mappings. In this case, 9 mappings have been configured. They are as follows. The table above shows you all the various different mappings and how they've been mapped. It shows you the AIA number, the output, the source ID, VCN, the frequency, the program, the source name, so in this case, things like APTN or Spike TV, the various different PIDs, the SI source, the cable card, and the state of the channel. Now, if I wish to map a new channel to the SI table, I would go down and I would click on Map, then I would enter in the EIA number, then I would choose the source type, either source ID or VCN. Then I would enter in the SIID or VCN number and click Submit. Now, if I've added a mapping by mistake or need to remove one, I can unmap it through the same process. I'll click on Unmap, enter in the EIA number, enter in the source ID or VCN number, add in the number, click Submit, and the mapping will be removed. Now, if I want to keep a mapping but I want to mute its output, what I can do is choose Disable, put in the EIA number, and click Submit, and the output will be muted from that point forward. If I need to enable that output again, I can click on Enable, enter in the EIA number, and click Submit. Now, if any point in time I need to collect this information from this table above, I can export it by going down here and clicking Save. Where do I find the out-of-band SI information? To find the out-of-band SI information, click on Configuration, then Out-of-Band SI. This will bring you to the Out-of-Band SI page. Here you can see the out-of-band SI information such as the source ID, VCN, source name, program number, frequency, QAM mode, application flag, or hidden flags. At any point in time, if I need to export this information, I would simply click Save, and then I would have a table I could export. Where do I find the in-band SI information? To find the in-band SI information, click on Configuration, then go to In-band SI. This will bring you to the in-band SI information page, and here you can see the source ID, VCN, source name, program number, frequency, and QAM mode.
And if at any point in time you need to export this information, simply click Save and a table will emerge that can be exported. Where do I change the Canadian channel frequency offsets? To do this, I will click on Configuration, then Canadian channel frequency offsets. The Canadian channel frequency offsets are a system that is used in Canada exclusively. Now, to add a new offset, you would click on Set, enter in the EAA channel, and then enter in the offset in kilohertz. Now, if I wish to remove one of these offsets, I would click on Remove, then enter in the EAA channel, then enter in the offset, and the new offset will be removed. To see all the various different offsets that are already applied, view the table above, which has the EAA channel number, the frequency, and the offset. How do I change the network settings from the web GUI? To do this, I would click on Configuration, then go to Network. Now, this currently displays the various different network settings on the unit. For example, there is the name for the management port or the ECM host. There's the method of connection, the link status, the interface status, the IPv4 address, the IPv6 address, the MAC address, the net mask, broadcast IP, and gateway. Now from here, if I want to change one of these, I'll simply click on the thing I wish to change. Then I can change it from static to DHCP, and I can also enter new IP address as I need to. Now, other things we can do from here is disable the various different ways the unit can be accessed. If I wish to disable the web GUI, I will click on Disable Yes, and then click Submit. And from that point forward, people will not be able to access the unit via the web GUI. To disable SSH access, it is the same procedure. I'll click on Disable Yes, then click Submit. And from that point forward, people will not be able to access the unit via SSH. Finally, I can do the same for the craft interface port by clicking on Yes and then Submit. I can disable at any one time any two of these interfaces, but not all three at the same time, as that would lock out the unit and make it impossible to access. The other thing that can be done from here is to ping a host IP. Now, one of the reasons you might do this would be to determine if the unit itself can reach the IP address that we're talking about. To see those results, you would look below. Where would I import or export a configuration file? To do this, click on Configuration, then Config, Import, and Export. Now, there are two methods for importing a configuration file. The easiest is to do it via local import. To do this, click on Choose File, then choose the file from the pop-up window, and click Submit. The other method to do this is you can configure a server import. Now, this can be done via two different protocols, HTTP or TFTP. In both cases, you will need the IP address of the server. You'll also need the path and the file name. Once those have been added, click Submit. If you've already loaded a configuration file onto the unit and wish to export it, click on Export and the new configuration file can be exported. These new configuration files can be used to set up new TC600Es in the same. Where do I find the system status and additional system information? To find this information, click on Status, then System. This will take you to the System Status page. Here you'll see the system's firmware release, the model number, the serial number of the system, the version number, and the overall temperature of the unit. Additionally, there's information about the different Mokers and Decryption modules. For example, it shows what each Moker is, the firmware version for each one, and if a cable card has been inserted, it shows the hardware version of the cable card as well as the firmware version. If a cable card has not been inserted, it shows as unavailable. This also shows information about the fans, such as which fan you're looking at, whether or not the fan has been installed, and what the fan speed is. All of this information can be quite critical when troubleshooting the unit. Where do I find the log messages on the unit? To find the log messages on the unit, click on Status, then Log Messages. This will bring you to the Log Messages page. Once the page has finished loading, you'll see a list of all the various different log messages, as well as the time that they were taken. These messages can be quite critical when troubleshooting. However, sometimes the unit may be spammed with various different log messages which are irrelevant to troubleshooting. If that occurs, you may need to clear the log messages by clicking on Clear. This will clear all the log messages and allow the unit to begin recording new ones which may have better information. Where do I find information about the network ports? To find information about the network ports, click on Status, then Network Ports. This will bring you to the Network Ports page. On this page, it shows you the various different open ports by protocol, which port is involved, what the state is, and which process it's currently running. Where do I find information about the cable modem status? To find this information, click on Status, then Cable Modem. This will bring you to the cable modem status page. On the current unit, a cable modem has not been installed, but when one is installed, there will be a link to the cable modem status page found here. Now, in the case of this particular cable modem, because it is down, we still have things like the software version, hardware version, MAC address, and link status, but we do not have a cable modem page. Where do I find information about decryption and the cable cards? The first page to find information about decryption is found by clicking Status and then Decrypt Status. This page will show you the status of each individual cable card and whether or not it's been authenticated, whether or not it's been validated. By scrolling down, we can look at each one of the cable cards in turn. Now, if I need additional information, for example, if I'm trying to provision the cable cards for the first time, I'll click on Status, then Decrypt Identification. This page brings us up to the cable card page, and as there are 2 cards installed, there's information for 2 of them. There is the MOCR, the host ID, which will be found for the MOCR, the MAC address, this is available for some cable cards but not others, the card ID, the card serial number, the unit address, and the data ID. If you need to export any of this information, click on Save, and then the table will be exported. Where do I find additional information about the input tuners? To find this information, click on Statistics, then Input Tuners. This will bring you to the Input Tuner Statistics page. There are 2 series of statistics here. The first is for the in-band tuners, and this contains the QAM, frequency, QAM mode, power level, tuner status, channel status, QAM lock status, FEC lock status, MPEG lock status, signal to noise ratio, uncorrectable bits, correctable bits, and frequency offset. Now, for the out-of-band tuner statistics, we have the similar information. We've got the status, frequency, power, tuner lock, channel lock, QAM lock, signal to noise ratio, uncorrected bits, corrected bits, and offset. Now, if I need to clear these statistics for any reason, I will click Yes and then Submit, and the statistics will be cleared immediately. Where do I find the output statistics? To find the output statistics, click on Statistics, then Output. And these statistics contain the EIA channel, the source ID, the VCN number, the cable card assigned to it, as well as the LTS, the media import, the stream type, the resolution, the video bitrate, the audio type, and the audio bitrate. Where do I find the alarms? There are 2 types of alarms. The alarms can be found under the alarm section, and there are current alarms and historical alarms. The current alarms are those that have not been cleared, and the historical alarms are ones that have. So by clicking on Current, we go to the most recent alarms. On this page, we see the total number of alarms, how many of them are critical, how many of them are simply warnings, and how many of them are simply information. Below, we see the various different alarms listed by priority. We also have the event message, the type, so it could be an event or an alarm. Alarm must be dealt with immediately. An event is something that you simply want to know about, and when it was asserted. Now in the historical alarms, I'll click on Alarms, then History, and this will take me to the Alarms History page. Here we have a much larger amount. We've got 75 total, 33 critical, 31 warnings, and 11 that were information. And in this case, we have the priority, event message, the type of alarm, the assert time, and finally the de-assert time when the alarm was cleared. How do I take a debug dump? To take a debug dump, click on Maintenance, then Debug Dump. Now a debug dump is a dump that is used to summarize the state of the unit and is usually sent to Vestment Networks for troubleshooting purposes. To create a new debug dump, simply click on New, and a new debug dump will begin to be made. Now in this case, because a debug dump has already been made, if I wanted to, I could simply click on Latest Debug Dump and download that one. Now if I wanted an entirely new one, I might have to remove that debug dump. So I do that by clicking on Remove, then Submit. That will remove the existing debug dump and allow me to generate a new one. How do I upgrade the unit from the Web GUI? To upgrade the unit from the Web GUI, click on Maintenance, then Upgrade. This will bring you to the Upgrade page. This page displays what the current release is, whether or not the CVCs are available for upgrade, when it was last attempted, and what's currently going on. So at the moment the unit isn't upgraded. Now the easiest way to upgrade the unit is to do a local upgrade. To do this, you'll simply choose the file, then click Submit. Now other ways to do this are a server upgrade. To do a server upgrade, you'll choose either HTTP or TFTP. Enter in the server information, enter in the path and file name, then click Submit. Now once you want to upgrade the unit, you'll choose Upgrade and then click Submit, and the unit will begin to upgrade immediately. This will be noted here under the current state. This area here will demonstrate all the various different phases that the upgrade goes through, and if the upgrade fails for whatever reason, it will be listed here. How do I add or remove code verification certificates? To add or remove a CVC, click on Maintenance, then Certificates. This will bring you to the CVC page. Code verification certificates are codes that are used to verify that the purchaser of the unit has also purchased the necessary support required to continue being updated. There are two types of CVC. The first is the manufacturer CVC, which is provided by Vestment Networks, and the second is the cosigner CVC, which is created in conjunction with Vestment Networks and the client involved. Now, to remove a manufacturing CVC, you would click on Remove and then Submit. The same can be done for removing a cosigning CVC. As the unit can only have one example of each of these CVCs on it at a time, it is important to remove the existing manufacturing and cosigner CVCs before adding new ones. To add a new one, do so via local upgrade. You'll choose the file, then choose the file format, either PEM or DER, then click Submit, and the new CVC will be uploaded. To see which CVCs have already been uploaded, you'll look at the code verification certificates, and they will show below. There's the manufacturing CVC, and the cosigner CVC on this unit is not yet present. The unit will not be able to upgrade without the code verification certificates. How do I reboot the unit? To reboot the unit, click on Maintenance, then Reboot. From here, you'll go into Reboot, you'll choose Yes, and click Submit. The other way to reboot the unit is to click on the power icon up here in the top right-hand corner, and this will bring you to the same page. How do I enter diagnostic mode? To enter diagnostic mode, click on Maintenance, then Diagnostic mode, and this will take you to the diagnostic mode page. Now at the moment, the unit is already in diagnostic mode. However, in order to enter diagnostic mode, you'll need to receive an authentication key from Vestment Networks. You'll enter in that code and click Submit. Now, once diagnostic mode is enabled, you'll need to disable it by clicking down here, click Yes, and then click Submit. Diagnostic mode is used for troubleshooting and is not needed for everyday events. How do I change the password? To change the password, click on Maintenance, then Password. Here you'll enter in the password, you'll retype it, then you'll click Submit. Now, changing this password will change all the passwords, both on the textual user interface and the web GUI. So please write this down before clicking Submit.